Hello everyone, my name is John Kincaid, Operations Manager at Synesys International. Today I'll be walking you through some highlights of our document control package. I wanted to just give a little background on how the document control system works, and I'll show you the icons. It's these orange icons here under document management. So this is the approval process. And a document owner, they'll work with the document, whether it's a Word document or Excel, whatever. They'll finish their changes and they need to submit that document for approval. And then one or more reviewers would need to look at the changes, maybe approve the changes before the new version is published as a release document. So during that approval process, a document might be rejected. Anyone that's involved as a reviewer might need to send it back for changes. And so instead of sending a paper document around by hand for people to mark up, we do all that with an approval workflow instead of an inter-office mail envelope. And it just automates the routing of the document for review and approval. We send an email to the approver whenever they have a new document that they need to review. So let's say that the owner sends it to their manager. The manager would receive an email saying that here's a new document, it came from this owner, and then it could have a due date and whatever characteristics that you want to provide with that approval cycle. Now, there could be more than one approver, and I'll show you an example of that. But if the approver rejects that version, we're going to email the original owner and tell them they need to revise the document, and the email explains who and why. It shows who rejected it and what was the reason. And of course, then they can follow up outside the system. They can get on the phone and discuss it, maybe have a meeting, whatever is needed. But the email contains the information to help them get started on tracking those changes after a rejection. We want to track version history so we can see who changed what, when they changed it. Possibly if something gets deleted accidentally, you might need to roll back to a previous version. So SharePoint stores all that in the library for you. Again, we're just leveraging the full power of standard SharePoint out of the box, and BPA adds to it, but BPA does not remove any of the SharePoint functionality. SharePoint out of the box does give you a built-in approval process, but it's somewhat limited, and so typically what we do is configure a more flexible process that would be suited for your business. It would have the desired actions and the workflows that you need. So I'll just show you a little picture here, a flowchart, and then we'll get into an actual demo. It's this one. And I'll drag it over so you can see it. So this is a document approval design, and what we're doing is starting out with a sequential flow. So you'll see on the left side of the chart, we have the document owner, they make their changes, and then they submit that document for review. And the way that this approval cycle works, it needs to go to someone responsible for that process area. So it has to be a supervisor, a manager within that section of the business that would have the capability to evaluate that particular document. And the owner is able to specify who that person is from your Active Directory. And assuming that the process owner approves, they would send it on to the QA manager. Assuming that QA approves, it goes to a technical editor to maybe look at the grammar or any of the technical wording of that document, just someone that's a technical writer with that skill. So it's gone through 4 humans, 4 levels of reviewing the document, possibly making changes to the document, or possibly rejecting it back to the owner and asking them to make a change and submit it again. Once it goes through that sequential process from this person to this person to the third person to the fourth person, at that point it goes into a parallel process, and at this point all 4 people have had a chance to review and approve, but now we're giving everyone that opportunity to take one last look. And so now the owner and the QA manager, the process person, And in this case, even the executive could be the president or the plant manager, whoever might need to look at that from an executive level. They're all four looking at the document at the same time, and all four of those have the opportunity to approve or reject, but they're all looking at the same moment in time, where this is a sequential process initially. Assuming that you get through all approvals here in the final stage, at that point, that's when you get that approved major version, and it becomes version 2.0 of that document, and it would be published, and the general population would see it. So here on my release documents, right now, I think for testing purposes, could still have some drafts in here, but normally you'd see only approved documents in your production. So I'm showing you whether it's version 1.0 or 2.0 or 10.0. These are final documents that have been fully approved by everyone. And all of the other work that's in process, where the document is being revised and you've got kind of the intermediate version of that document being changed, all of that is not on the release documents. It's back here in the approval process. So this is where we begin. With the approval process, you've got a tab for the owner to show all of the documents that the owner currently has the ball. You've got a process area section, and I've got a couple of documents here that are currently being reviewed by the process owner. QA manager could have some documents, but looks like they've cleared out their queue. Technical editor could have some, but they don't have any now. And there could be some in final review. So I'll go back here to the owner, and I'll just kind of walk you through a quick process to show how this works. I'm going to, by using that plus document, this is my button to add a new document. I'll upload, and I'll go over here and browse, and let's say I'll use number 7 this time. And I could put in some version comments. I could choose a folder if I need to, and I'll go ahead and upload that document. It automatically displays the form, and so now I'm able to put in my metadata. Some of you may recall years ago, a traditional document management system, you might have a very complicated document name. It might have 6 digits followed by 2 letters followed by something else. And so there was intelligence built into the name of the document. What they were trying to show was which department, which date, which version, several things that were decoded from that document name. But now all we need to do is put the metadata fields into the document control. I'll repeat the file name, but you could give this any title that you like. And the title is what would appear with that document as an identifier that you could click. Also, you can have document numbering. So if you wanted to have DOC-001 and have an automatic sequential number, also we can easily do that. Here's your drop-down list for the types. And so you could have a COA, you could have a change request. I'll just say this is a procedure, but you're classifying it according to work instructions or specs or meeting minutes, material safety data sheets, whatever you need to show for your grouping. You'll notice that the stage is automatically document owner. So it's saying that when you first upload this document, it will go to the owner and they'll have an opportunity to review it before they release it. Down here, I need, since I've got the little blue asterisk, I've made these fields mandatory, and I want the owner to assign who is the correct person at each stage. So I'm just going to pick myself so that I get the emails. But in a real workplace, you would have 5 different names here, and it could be the author of the document, who is the right process area person for that document, who's the right quality manager, technical editor, the executive. And then on the distribution list, you could have several other individuals. I'll just put myself, but I could be sending this to multiple people. They're not involved in the approval cycle, but they're interested in that document. And so they'll receive the emails and they'll know if something's happened with that document, if there's a rejection or an approval. So what I've done so far is uploaded the document, I've given it a title, classified it as a procedure, and I've assigned the people that would be responsible for reviewing it at the appropriate time in the cycle. And I'll go ahead and save that document. So now it'll refresh the screen and you'll see that Test 7, the new document, appears here as a draft, and it's still belonging to the document owner. I would go in and I would edit that Word document, make sure that it's ready to release, do a final proofreading, and then I'm ready to release now, so I can go in to the little pencil icon and edit my form, and all I need to do is say, yes, I'm ready to move it to the next stage. So let's move to the next approver and save it. The action there of changing that approval status is what triggers the email and the change in status. So I'll do an F5 to refresh the screen, and we'll see that Test 7 is no longer here on the document owner. Now he's moved to the process area, and it's changed to process area, and my draft status has gone to version 0.4. So the process owner would then edit the document. They can click, drill into it here, make any changes, and once they're ready to approve, they would go to their screen. They would click the pencil, and now you can see that all of these are shaded out. These are gray, so they're read-only. The process owner can't change the name of the document or the fact that it's in their inbox, but they are able to move it to the next approver. If they wanted to reject it here, then they would provide a reject reason and some notes. And down here, all of these stage owners are read-only also. So now the process person has moved. We'll save. And I'll go to process area. I go to QA manager, and now you'll see that number 7 is moved to QA. So quickly, I'll do the approval again. The QA manager reviews it, approves it, saves it, and it goes to the technical editor. If I send this one step further, I'll go ahead and let Tech Editor approve it so you can see how that form works. I'll move it here and save it. And now it's going to go from Tech Editor to that final parallel process. So here it is, Test 7 and final review. If you look at the form now, everything at the top is still read-only. It's in final review stage, but now look at your approval section. Each one of those owners, the document owner, the quality manager, process person, executive, they all have a drop-down individually. And so, you know, the owner might go through and look at what the quality manager changed, and the owner themselves could reject it right here. Or they can say, okay, I'm fine with that, and they approve it. But if the document owner approves it, that's not sufficient to put it out to the general population. We have to wait until this one says approved, and they all say approved. And once they all 4 change to approved, then it becomes an official release document where SharePoint changes it to a 2.0 or 3.0, and it becomes visible on that release documents. Now, you know, some customers have said that the way their business works, they want to have 20 people look at it in parallel at the end, but as long as we get 60% approval, or they might do it like Congress and say, as long as we get a majority, if it's 51-49, we'll approve it. So you can also have, you know, more complex approval formulas, but the way this customer wanted it to work is that each of those 4 people at the end is a key player, and they all have an equal vote, and so they all have to approve before it goes to the general public. So it's very flexible. I can go in here and just show you on the back end. I'm going over to traditional SharePoint now. and I'll get into site contents. And I'll go to my compliance documents. Let's look at our settings where we see our columns. So this is a compliance documents library in SharePoint. And if anyone has worked with SharePoint, this all looks familiar. These are just the names of your columns. This is how they're defined. Is it a text field or a choice or whatever? And so down here, I've got a person named Process Area Oversight. I click that column, and it goes in and it shows me that it's not required. It does allow multiple people. It can be select people in groups, but it's only going to allow you to pick people from a SharePoint group called Document Approvers. And so that's how you control the security, is that, let's say if you have 4 approvers, whatever you want to call these people, it could be QA manager or process owner, but whoever the reviewers are, you would put them in the group, and they would be the only ones that have permission to be selected as editors on the document. And if I wanted to change this to something else, I could literally come right in here and call it process owner. And that's all I would have to do, is just rename the column. And then it can be, it can rename any of the fields that I use to be your terminology. And instead of 4 people, it could be 2 approvers, or it could be 7 approvers. I hope you enjoyed this tour of document management. Thanks for watching. Please contact Synesis for more information.